Hi, welcome to Know It Ollie. This is an ELI12 Gamestop video in relation to cellar boxing. If you don't know what cellar boxing is, check out my video on cellar boxing itself. It explains as simply as I can what cellar boxing is. Cellar boxing was tried on GameStop. They failed. This is an article here that goes into what the cellar boxing is. I highly recommend doing a bunch of reading because a lot of this is very interesting and it's market mechanics that have been in place for 2 decades or more, and it's well known and well used. The SEC is fully aware of it. However, it's still being allowed to be practiced within the markets. So all of these links can be found in the show notes, link in description. So yeah, there's, as you can see, quite a few articles here. We have a good number of Reddit articles with links to provide more information if you need to go do more research. So, what was happening with GameStop was they were well and truly on their way to cellar boxing GameStop. If you saw the other video here, you would see that they had gone through a number of these steps. However, they were probably at about step 6 or step 6.5 as they were attempting to crush GameStop's price. It got down to the $2 range before it finally started to make a turnaround. It made that turnaround because of a particular cat who did some serious research and was convinced that the company had great potential. However, when he got into that trade, there were definitely no guarantees. And then Chewy Cohen stepped in and decided to make a rather large investment, bought quite a number of shares, and sent a letter to the board of directors. This was directly disrupting the goons being put onto the board, and it allowed for a different form of media to hit the market talking about what was happening with GameStop. With all of this going on, retail traders began doing their own investigations. At the same time, they were lucky enough, GameStop was lucky enough to be having a console release, which really boosted their bottom lines. They made a couple of really surprisingly good moves with, uh, well, more recently with selling and buying, then selling their stock. That was at advice from uh, Burry, who is one of the individuals from the movie Big Short from 2008. Anyway, retail started buying, some big money started doing some purchasing of GameStop and started calling out the board for mismanagement. The problem for the short hedge funds and the market makers that were involved in this trade was that they were already overcommitted to cellar boxing GameStop into oblivion. And so instead of accepting the extreme losses and bankruptcies that would have followed, they doubled down in an attempt to convince people that they were wrong. However, all the evidence says that, well, they're right. The doubling down backfired, and now it's simply a waiting game for the inevitable buy pressure that is coming in to GameStop when the pressure gets too much. So if you need to do some more reading, obviously there's all of these. In relation to GameStop, they tried and failed to sell a box GameStop, and in doing so, they aggravated the individual retail traders who have decided to buy the stock, lock them up in their own names, put them in vaults so that the stock cannot be as abused or as manipulated in the future. And at this point, it's just a case of direct register your shares and be patient, wait for the inevitable. The underlying needs for the MOAS to occur have been met multiple times over, and now it is simply a waiting game for the entire thing to kick off. So that is cellar boxing and how it failed on GameStop. Know it, Ollie out.